Hi, folks. My name is Barry Steelman, and this is another edition of On the Marquee. Today, I have a very special guest, and we're filming at one of the auditoriums at Red River Theaters. A filmmaker by the name of Jay Craven, who not only is a producer, director, writer, also a professor of film studies at Marlborough College in Brattleboro, Vermont. Jay Craven, how are you today?
My pleasure.
Mr. Craven and I have known one another for
Long time.
decades.
1993.
Yeah, and maybe fleetingly before that.
Knew
perhaps.
about each other for sure.
At least. Kingdom County Productions is your business, and is it pretty close to being in St. Johnsbury, or is it a town nearby St.
Yes,
Johnsbury?
we're based in Peacham, Vermont. Our mailing address is Barnet, Vermont, because up there.
Barnet is the address I
That's
think I'm
right,
familiar
Barnet,
with.
Vermont. And,
Peacham. That sounds kind of delightful. Is it?
Peacham is cool. Yeah, it's a small town. I mean, it's actually Thaddeus Stevens lived there and taught at the old Peacham Academy, and it's got some history of its own. And it's a hill town. Still got some operating farms going. It's sort of a beautiful little downtown. The main street is a dirt road, so all those things contribute to keeping it sort of cool.
Have most of the films that you've been involved with, feature film wise, have they been made under the aegis of Kingdom County Productions?
Yes. I made documentaries and one short narrative, half-hour narrative called High Water when I ran Catamount Arts, which was 1975 to 1991, and I made some documentaries there too. But I left Catamount, which started by showing movies in small towns, like traveling 6 towns a week. Then in '91 left Catamount to start Kingdom County Productions, which was formed for the purpose of making films based in New England, mostly Vermont and New Hampshire. I mean, we're based in Vermont, but all of our Vermont films have included New Hampshire scenes. Partly because we're in eastern Vermont and it's very easy to cross the border, but we've been in Groveton, Lancaster, Orford, in southern Chesterfield, in southern New Hampshire. Yeah, so we've always sort of liked that notion of a partnership between the two states. Since since there are these hard lines, we figured we'd cross the lines.
Yeah. Well, does it also help when you're marketing things to say that
sure.
There is a scene or two that is also been filmed in this state?
One of the rules of thumb as an independent filmmaker is to claim as many hometowns as you possibly can.
Yeah. And is it fair to say that you are also pretty much the distributor of your movies?
Yeah, I mean, we have always distributed the theatrical release. We've always barnstormed New England. We then have worked with distributors for television and video and foreign sales.
For the auxiliary.
For the auxiliaries, but we've always been sort of totally in charge of, especially New England and especially theatrical release.
Has that aspect of it changed over it's been like almost 25 years that you've been doing this,
Right.
Is that not correct?
Right. It's actually even longer than that, because we did the same thing with our documentaries. So it goes back to about 1984.
So it's
that
30
we started,
years.
so that we started self-distributing to venues. And it includes venues that are not theaters. Theaters are the first wave and the one that we appreciate the most because they have their own audiences that they bring. But we play museums, we play regional theater companies, we play libraries, we play schools, play town halls, play fire stations, play cafes. We've played some.
Have you ever done it outdoors?
We have done it outdoors for sure.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And so that's the idea. That if you really want to build this, the idea of the event screening, where you bring people together and it's sort of an act of community. It's like people coming to the Red River. It's their theater in their community, and in our case, it's a movie that was made in New England. We sometimes, this new film, Peter and John, was shot in Nantucket after having shot all of these movies in northern New England. So I said, I've spent the last 30 years trying to convince southern New England that northern New England is relevant, right?
Yeah.
And now I'm doing the opposite. I've got a Nantucket film that I'm trying to get people in northern New England to watch.
But you've been working towards doing this for, is it a decade? To get Peter and John
Yes, that's right.
made?
Yeah, and yes, that's right. At first, it was going to happen another way completely, which was a British producer shooting in Durban, South Africa. But two
Wow.
producers got into an argument with each other on the tarmac of the Berlin International Airport after the Berlin Film Festival and told each other to go to hell, and so the project collapsed. But so I had it in my mind to, but when you write a screenplay and spend a year doing it, you don't let go of it easily.
Yes.
And so if you have an opportunity to go back to a screenplay and bring it back into play, that's actually a good thing. I mean, you revisit the characters that you spent so much time with. You revisit the whole idea of the film. You develop new perspectives on it. But that's what happened here. I was in Nantucket doing an interview with the newspaper in Nantucket, and the reporter said, well, are you going to make a movie in Nantucket? Why don't you do that? I said, yeah, sure, fine. Peter and John,
Yeah.
right there on the spot, decided to do it. I actually thought I was going to make my next movie in North Carolina. And which I was a little bit, how do I build a base? Because it always involves some community engagement. How do I build a base in North Carolina? I couldn't figure it out. But then I had some friends in Nantucket. I had some people that sort of liked what I was doing. So I said, perfect, bingo. So the newspaper reporter decided for me, and I just went along with it. But it gave me a chance to then go back to this story that I had spent time with back in 2003,
And this story
2004.
is not, yes, definitely not in contemporary times. You're
No.
talking about the 1870s.
1870s, right, 1870s.
A guy,
Based on a French novel,
Yeah.
yes, by Maupassant, and yeah, an interesting story.
how difficult was it to make Nantucket look like 1870?
Not hard.
Not
All you do
hard.
is walk down
Okay.
Main Street. You're there.
Just get rid of the cars and the parking
Just get rid
meters?
of your cars, and there are no parking meters.
Oh,
Just get rid of the cars. That's all. I mean, literally, all you have to do.
Oh, that's
And
good.
we have an opening scene right on Main Street in Nantucket, and it's just you're there. You're in the 1870s.
No, isn't that fabulous about some towns?
Yeah,
That
Yeah.
you-
Cobblestone streets.
Yeah, you can use them contemporarily,
yeah.
but with a few minor adjustments, you can put them back in a different century.
That's right. We, in Where the Rivers Flow North, film that you showed at Cinema 93 back in the old days.
Didn't you lay sand on the street?
Yeah, we laid dirt on the streets of St. Johnsbury, got rid of the parking meters, and my production designer, who went on to work for Wes Anderson and Quentin Tarantino, a guy named David Wasco, found period street lamps in a warehouse in Montpelier, had them moved to St. Johnsbury, got the power company for free to take down all the street lamps
Oh, gee.
in the main section of town and put up these 1920s street lamps. So, and they converted the whole town from 1992, which was when we shot it, to 1927 overnight. They did it in 8 hours overnight, dirt on the roads, and then the next day, Model Ts, horse and buggies, horseback. 10,000 people showed up to watch the film because it felt like the town was 1927.
Yeah.
And it was just, people were blown away, in the old street. And yeah, so that's part of it. But, and so 1872 for this new movie is the farthest I've gone back, but it was a lot of fun. And costumes in the new picture are just a big part of it.
Yeah.
And
No, I saw the movie, and
Yeah.
I really was struck by the production design,
yeah,
by the costuming, by
Yeah.
the choice of where it was filmed. There was no inkling that I was looking at something that had actually been disturbed too much.
right. Yeah, I mean, a couple of people made the comment that they thought that the film, felt like it had been made then, which I guess is a good
Yeah,
comment.
I would take that as a compliment.
Yeah, I mean, it's, with any film, a big part of the job is to create a world that you take people
Yes.
into. And then whatever you decide is gonna happen in that world is what happens. But getting them into that world is a big part of the job to start with.
So I would definitely take that as a compliment,
Yeah,
because I
so-
think that's what you accomplished,
Wow.
was creating an aura, an atmosphere that definitely indicated time ago.
And the music in that picture is also very important. And we found an American composer, one of the students that I work with, suggested this composer, Louis Moreau Gottschalk. And for me, the movie the music was perfect. And that, I think, adds a lot to the feeling and the sort of mood of the picture as well. New Orleans composer of that period, and then a British publisher of the recordings who then donated them to us, which was fabulous. So wonderful piano performance by Peter Martin of these pieces. So again, and music also helps to create that world. And it was period music, and we worked with 19th century translations of the French novel, and so tried to, as much as we could, go back into the period. We had a student who was the prop master who was given access to 35,000 artifacts going back to the 16th century from the Nantucket Historical Association for free. And boy, what a field day she had with a couple of other students working that. Every prop we needed in the film, there were at least 3 options. What a thorough job she did, and really a transformative experience of just a whole other world, and then bringing that world to life. Because props have a lot to do with how a period film will come to life also.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And Jay, you've always been, and I'll use the word fortunate, and I'm sure it's an adjective that has taken a great deal of time to develop. But you've always been fortunate to have somebody headlining your film, your feature film,
Yeah.
that is a known commodity. And it's not like they're at the tail end of their careers, and you're doing them a favor by putting them into a movie. I go back and I can, some of the names, Rip Torn, Michael J. Fox, Treat Williams, Martin Sheen, Chris Christopherson, Genevieve Bujold, Bruce Dern.
Yes.
These are people that, I don't have to go and go to the IMDb to see,
Right.
Who are these folks?
Yeah. No, and Jacqueline Bisset in the new picture.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
We've been lucky, I think ultimately it comes down to actors who like who like the material, who like the script, and who decide to sign on for love and not money, I can assure you, and generally working for scale, and they bring a lot to it. They're, in a sense, they're partners, they're creative partners in bringing this
And
thing
how
to
was
life.
she to collaborate with?
She was great, she...
It's still a striking appearance.
Absolutely. Which is sort of what she's known for. So there were issues of making sure she looked good, making sure the costumes were good, the hair, makeup, and but she's not somebody who has done plastic surgery and done that whole routine. So she's a natural beauty. She's a beautiful older woman, and I thought she'd be great. And as you say, she's still totally happening in her career. She had just done this picture with Gerard Depardieu about Dominique Strauss-Kahn, filmed by Abel Ferreira, that played at the Cannes Film Festival. As a matter of fact, she went directly from our shoot to Cannes for a big opening there. So, and she'd won a Golden Globe Award in 2014. So Jacqueline totally continued to be a happening actor. Bruce Dern worked with us immediately before he did Nebraska, and actually gave us some credit for helping to get him into shape for both the audition and the performance of.
And gee, that must have aided and abetted your ability to sell Northern Borders.
For sure.
The fact that here he was, had he received an Oscar nomination when Northern Borders was
Yes.
being rolled out?
Yep, he'd received an Oscar nomination. He also got the Best Actor Award at Cannes. It basically came during the same time. We started showing the picture during the summer of 2013, which is when he won the Best Actor at Cannes, and then the following, January, he got the Oscar nomination. We tended to go out for 2 years, so we strike a pretty broad, we have a broad footprint in our distribution.
Yeah. Before we run out of time, folks, I really should tell you that the film that we've been primarily talking about, Peter and John, Jay's new movie, is being rolled out here in a couple of places this weekend, one at Red River and another one at the Wilton Town Hall. So if you're interested in seeing something that definitely is an independent production and has all the earmarks of a good, well-made feature film, you might want to go check it out. Please conduct yourself accordingly as to finding out just exactly when it's being played. But wanted to get that in before
Absolutely.
Miss Rebecca Howland tells us that we're out of time. What I did want to bring up also was the fact that you've had a sincere connection with an author by the name of Howard Frank Mosier.
Sure.
Is it 5 or 6 films that you've done?
Yeah,
with,
five
Five?
films we've done together: High Water, Where the Rivers Flow North, Stranger in the Kingdom, Disappearances, Northern Borders. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, so I love Howard, and
How did that association
well,
arise?
I mean, I worked in the Northeast Kingdom, as I say, showing films, teaching, expanding to include performing arts, building sort of this notion of culture and community, and always that whole time wanted to make feature films. Thought that by running an arts organization I'd make money that I could put into making movies, but it doesn't turn out that way. You just got to raise money for presenting the arts and for making movies. But
Well, there must be a lot of mutual respect and trust involved here.
Yeah.
Because you've appreciated what he's written, and he's apparently appreciated how you've treated it because he's permitted you to continue to do
right,
so.
he'd like me to do another one,
Okay.
and maybe we will. They're sort of Vermont Westerns, and I was raised by a Texas grandmother who took me to, who loved Westerns and Tennessee Williams pictures, so anything with gunslingers.
Now,
and-
there's a wide spectrum of interest.
That's right, yeah. So anyway, so when I saw the Mosher stories, I said, these are like North Country Westerns, and they sort of are.
Yeah.
And so, and that's why I think another thing, if you think of Bruce Dern, you think of Western, you think of Christopherson, you think of Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. And so they fit right into it, this notion of larger than life characters, standing for the frontier and a way of life, and having a hard time letting go of it, and stuff like that.
I know this may be an unfair question, but I'll ask it anyway. Is there one film that you have made that you're particularly proud of, that you figure that if I was to be acknowledged at the time of my demise, this is the one I think I would want people to remember me for?
Well,
As of this moment.
Where the Rivers Flow North was the film that created the most excitement and was seen most widely. Disappearances is the film that I feel sort of most personally connected to, as the film that the more I watched it, the more I actually figured out what I was doing. There are a number of levels and layers to Disappearances that continue to speak to me, and there are personal elements to the story. It's about a guy that in some ways is in search of his long lost father, and my father left me when I was 6, and so I could relate to the idea in that. And it also has a flavor of magical realism, which goes back to my early interest in Louis Buñuel and Jean Cocteau and people like that.
Yeah. One thing you are also associated with, I think you got about a minute and a half to talk about this, so perhaps it's not fair to bring it up, but a organization that I think is fascinating is Circus Smirkus.
Yeah, right.
You sent me an email telling me how they were traveling around the countryside here this summer. And I saw them do a little stint at the Flynn Theater in Burlington, Vermont, when Charlie Chaplin's The Circus was being exhibited there.
Yeah.
This is probably close to 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But Circus Smirkus was outside the building, in that very long corridor that leads you to the auditorium, and in a couple of instances were inside the theater itself before, and I was really impressed. Tumblers, jugglers, young people.
They're a great project,
interested in arts that maybe it's unusual for young people to gravitate to.
That's right. Yeah, it's like its 29th year. It's a project I'm very proud of. I was the founding producer of the program, but it's a great, it's a fabulous project for kids. I mean, it's transformative education, the same way our Movies from Marlborough program, same thing, working with students and professionals to get young people to reach beyond their grasp in the creation of something larger than themselves, where they are part of something very substantial. And it's very exciting to be involved with those projects.
Yeah. Well, good. Congratulations.
All right,
Jay.
my pleasure. Always good to
Appreciate
see
you taking a half
Thank
an
you.
hour to talk to me about the things you're involved with. And go see Peter in June, folks. Thanks for watching.
You know a certain Mr. Leon Marshall of Boston?
We do indeed.
My notary communicated to me the condition of Mr. Marshall's will, by which he makes your son John his sole heir.
You'll have to pardon me. When I was a boy, I think I saw a little portrait of Leon Marshall.
Yes. It could be.
I came to find you.
I would like to know why. Now is not the time.
I agree.
You're interrupting. It seems odd. An old bachelor with no heirs leaves his fortune equally to both brothers. That would be simple and natural. You won't have to work again. You can travel wherever you choose. Though I think you would rather land the widow, Lucia.
Well, she's clearly here for you.
I'm sure he needs someone to make him happy.
That is not my intention.
Well, what are your intentions?
All that I thought. It's untrue.
About what?
Myself, everything. Do you even understand what I'm talking about?
Do you?
Lucia! I know that you're jealous of me.
Jealous? You know you owe me money.
Just can't pay it all now. Settle down.
Settle down.
It's all right.